You're listening to Chem Stories, a podcast series created by people with lived experience of P&P chemsex.
Hi, gorgeous creatures. This is Captain Patrice speaking from the flight deck of Chem Stories Airlines. We're now about halfway through our YYZ balance flight, where Toronto host Bradley resumes the conversation with Brian. Our flight plan forecasts discussions on the importance of harm reduction and explore the deep bond between Brian and his dogs, whose constant love and support helped him through addiction and recovery. Should you experience turbulence while listening to this podcast, please visit our list of resources and services related to P&P chemsex in the episode description and on chemstories.ca. Thank you for choosing Chem Stories Airlines, where the journey is always a trip.
You once shared with me about your dog and this really touching story about connection happening sort of in between the partying when the alarm would go, we've got to walk the fucking dog. And there's something so, so familiar for me because I was the same with my dog. And so she would sit, and then when she would know it was time to go out, she would come to the side or near me, wherever I was, and give me a little, and everything would stop and go out. And so they can do that, and I would do that for her. I just think it's amazing. Would you tell that story if you want?
I have a tendency to do repeat friends. Let's put it that way. The same men, we just repeat it. We got along well. We had good times together. We used a lot together. And if the alarm went off, which was usually around the 6 a.m., 6 p.m.
Yeah.
No matter who was in the house, we'd get up, get dressed, take the dog to the concourse. And she was older. She walked slow. And there was one night with the guy I was seeing at the time someone else was there. And so we're in the middle of activity and knitting. And the alarm goes off and he's like, what the fuck? And my friend and I both got up and said, get dressed. He goes, where are we going? We're walking the dog. Oh, I don't want to go. Well, you're not staying here. So here we are, 3 very high men out in the concourse in my neighborhood, walking this old girl. And you know what? We walked the entire block. It took us an hour. And he did say once, he said, how far? And my very large boyfriend sort of went, as far as it fucking takes. He said, fair enough. And it was just they deferred to this amazing old dog that put up with this crazy old fool. But everyone who came in my apartment, even full users, were kindest to her. I mean, sometimes before we would do something, before we'd slam again, someone would say, let's take her out now so we know that she's...
Oh my God, I love that.
And to me, that's... When I hear people say, oh, they're all garbage, they're all losers, they're not. These people are amazing. We've just taken a path that may not be the best choice, but not everyone makes good choices. And meth is a bitch. I mean, she takes a hold and she gives you an awful lot. The cost is horrific. But instead of telling people they cannot use, maybe you should tell people what's going to happen if they use. There's a little booklet, the pamphlet that ACT put out. I wish I had read earlier on in my using. It basically points out, if you see this happening, consider this is what's happening. Consider what will happen next. I never had psychosis. I mean, I've had delusions and stuff. I mean, I thought people were at my apartment with us. And we actually were discussing who was actually there because we couldn't remember. And only a couple of days later, we're like, oh, it was just us, wasn't it? Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember one particular time the man sitting beside me was not the man I loved. It was his face, but it wasn't him. We sat quietly. I was angry. I was worried that if I confronted him, he wouldn't tell me where my partner was. And then he touched me, and my first reaction, I just plowed off and punched him. And he said, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I said, who are you and where's my partner? And it took him an hour or two to calm me down. And he said, I don't know who you are either. And he said, I was too afraid to leave because I didn't know where to go. And that sort of brought me back to, we started chatting a bit, and it was actually my dog who said, "Oh, I know her."
Oh my God, it makes me cry.
Wow, there was a lot of tears, and it scared both of us. And of course, we're high, so we made a big joke out of it.
Speaking of dog, and we don't have to talk about this if you don't want, but I think that I see in the community a connection between the gay men that I know and their pets. And when their pet dies, it's huge. Is there a connection, do you think, between your use or your uptake in use, or did your use change when your dog died?
That's a loaded question. I'll give you a little background. My partner died very suddenly, 17 years ago now. Being an older gay man, educated, you don't show emotion. You don't, God forbid you get help. So in my brilliance, I ran off to my house in another province. I hid out, got a dog, and I loved her beyond words. I met my next partner 2 years ago, and we both in a full addiction. And my dog, I had a dog, still had the same dog. Our relationship was tumultuous at best. It was failing miserably at the end. My other dog was 16 and a half. I knew I didn't have much time left with her. She died on a Tuesday. My partner and I broke up on a Thursday. I picked up a needle on Friday and didn't stop for 6 months.
Was that the first time that you'd slammed?
No. I slammed, but I was an occasional slammer.
Right.
Now, I'd already realized at this point that I always said I used drugs to have sex. I had sex and I used drugs because it made it more fun.
Mm-hmm.
I was beginning to realize I was picking partners because they used drugs the way I wanted them to use it. It was, so-and-so's coming over, so we can slam.
Right.
The sex was a benefit on a side benefit. Losing her was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. And I think if I looked at it now, I've had therapy since then. I lost him and her again and a second partner in a month. The reason I started looking for help was because I knew if she died, I was into serious, serious trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And so imagine the mess I was in. I got in, even though I'd already got help. Imagine what would happen if I hadn't found help first. Because after she died, I just started method at HQ. And the only day I was sober was I stopped using it at midnight on Monday night so I could be sober enough to function to get to the meeting at 5 o'clock at HQ. And then I'd start again as soon as I left there. I'd go back out and use again.
Well, good for you for stopping on Monday night.
It was, I kept hearing these things like, oh, that's really valuable, but I couldn't remember them. And that was extremely frustrating. I'd go home and the guy I was seeing said, was it good? I said, it was very good. It was what happened. I don't know what happened, but it was really good. And I was frustrated and angry that I was missing all this amazing information that could help me. And then as my addiction got worse and worse and worse and everything else was falling apart, someone I know stole a lot of money from me, and I just let him because I was too high to notice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was getting all these warnings on my phone and everything, and I thought, well, it must be a mistake. It can't possibly be me. And now him stealing it was actually the wake-up call I needed. I sort of sat down and made a decision. I had 16 and a half years with this amazing animal. How much better could you get? You couldn't get much better than that. So she owed me nothing. And I looked at it. She died because she knew I could do it on my own. I just had to figure out how. Well, she stayed with me a long time. So I sat down one day and it was either I had a choice. I actually thought, how much money do I have left? Will I be dead before my money runs out? Because I didn't want to live in the street. It was the one step I didn't want to take. And dying, falling that far down was more than I could handle. And then I thought the other option is get sober and see what life brings. And I'm stubborn.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Someone.
And my first 3 months in sobriety was absolute hell. And I took 1 week off of life. I just took 1 week off of life. And I sat with the portrait of my dog. A friend of mine did this amazing portrait of her. And her and I chatted for a week. That's all we did. A lot of tears. And the following week, I went to another meeting that I said, I need help, serious help now. And I'd stopped slamming. That was my first foray into harm reduction. That was gone. I would do it for other people because I could do it safely and do it wisely. And I know how to do it. And then I said, okay, I'm putting Tina away for good. The bitch and I are getting a divorce, and it's not going to be amicable. It's going to be a civil war. And I said, the stress of all that was, well, wait a second, I don't have to give up anything else. I have no issue with anything else. And I did give them up for 6 months, but it was my choice to give them up. And by giving them up, knowing they were still there, eased the transition from not using Tina.
Ah, makes sense.
It was my version of harm reduction. I'm not giving up everything.
Yeah.
So like I'm going on a diet, but I can still have chocolate eventually.
Right.
I know there's going to be lots of people out there who are going to complain about that, say it's a bad approach. It was for me. It was the best approach for me. I don't do well with ultimatums. It was when I came to the conclusion that, no, wait, I have an issue with Tina. Meth is going to kill me. I do not have that same issue with G or pot or anything else. I cannot pick up Tina, and nor do I want to pick up a cigarette. Because I know both of those, way I go, we're off on another journey. But I'm using my intellect at this point and saying, I can do other things if I want to. I never want to do them under their term, but under my own. Tina made decisions for me for a decade. Only sober now did I realize that she made so many decisions.
That's an interesting way of framing it.
Well, I was thinking the control she had. She told me when I was horny. She told me when I wasn't horny. She told me that I had sex with 3 different guys this weekend. I still need another one. Whereas my intellect and my brain would have probably went, dude, you've had 3. Chill. Calm.
And we know that.
Calm the fuck down.
And there's always, when we talked about before, where there's that, when it's 4:30, 4:45, and you think one more, it's never
going to be pretty.
It's always going to be probably a bit of a mess.
Oh, yeah. Because we're not pretty. They're not pretty. There's nothing pretty ever going to happen. And
cracks me up.
No, and I think if any human that I have known tried to control me the way Tina did, there would have been a fist in the face a long time before. I mean, imagine if someone told you you can't go to bed. The things that I did because Tina wanted me to. I wanted to do them, and she just allowed me to do them. Let's put it that way.
Why did you want to do them?
The one thing Tina gives you is it takes away all responsibility. Tina is it's like Valium made specifically for gay men. It takes all the responsibility away. Work was irrelevant because I didn't need to work today. Because I wanted to play today. Now that went on for years. No other drug really just takes away all your troubles are gone. And for once in my life, I've had no responsibility. I didn't have to worry about anything. It was absolute utter freedom. It's just, it isn't real. I mean, the bills still show up. Your personal life still needs to be fed in order to grow. And that's what was happening with my social life. I mean, I used Tina to build a social life, but in the same time, Tina was killing any chance of having a social life.
Right.
I mean, you don't make friends on Tina. You make sex partners or you make other users. You don't make friends. This is not a place you go. This is not a knitting circle. I mean, that's not what we're doing. I mean, you go to an orgy with 5 guys and nothing ever happens. I'm speaking from hearsay, by the way. Everything that we wanted from the drug takes away very quickly. It doesn't let us see it. It takes our friends away. It replaces them with the people that shouldn't be in our lives. I met some amazing men when I was using, and there's still people I care deeply about. Depending on where they are, we either still talk or don't, but that's not on them. That was a decision I had to make for myself. But I don't regret what I've done. I mean, I met some amazing men. I've heard horror stories of things that happen. I don't have any horror stories. I have stories that break my heart that we've done. People have hurt themselves and are in places they are going to have a hard time to get out of. But I met some amazing men. I don't think there's one single man that I met that I would say I wish I hadn't.
Same.
Him.
And that's a lot of guys.
Oh, there's only a couple.
I mean, there's 3.
3 or 4.
3 every 6 hours. Why is that so meaningful? Why is the dog connection so meaningful? What do we take, what is it, do you think?
I think even in full addiction, the one thing that Tina could not override was the love of your pet, your dog. I mean, she was my boundary. I crossed my boundary many times. I know that. I'd be delusional to say I didn't. But I hope, I pray that she never missed anything because of my drug use. Can I say that about my friends? Absolutely not. Can I say about my partner? Absolutely not. But I can say about her. If she had a vet appointment, I was sober. I even took an Uber. It was a vet appointment way across town because I couldn't drive. I wouldn't have picked a friend up that far, but I took her. My vet knew the predicament I was in, and she just never batted an eyelash. She just smiled. She said, okay, I'll take note of that. So if I made a decision that she thought was wrong, she would re-ask it again later. And I thought that was pretty amazing. That she knew how much I loved this animal, and that the fact that I told her I was an addict in heavy addiction, she didn't bat an eyelash. She said, then if I think you make a mistake, I'll ask you again.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah. And that honesty did that. I think honesty did that. If I hadn't told her, I still talk to my vet. She's vet for my new dog.
Who is so cute.
Yeah, I got a little tiny Yorkie. So he's tiny. He thinks he's a Rottweiler, but he's a bit
So sweet.
Yeah. I think I'm 40. He thinks he's a Rottweiler. My house is full of delusions.
Everyone's happy.
Everyone's happy in my house.
Because I think that is a thread in all of this is, I think the thing about the dogs is about being reminded of our humanity.
Mm-hmm.
They remind us of our humanity, which is why we're so grateful to them and fall deeply in love with them.
I think the worst thing anyone can do in life is give up. We can all give up in days. There's certain days you just give up, crawl in bed, pull the blankets over your head, and wish the fuck the sky would fall. But we know we don't really want that to happen.
Right.
We're giving ourselves a day to sit there and just wallow in our misery or in a failed relationship or in too many debts or the fact we hate our boss because they're dicks. We're allowed to do that. But for someone to say to you that, yeah, your boss is a dick and you stuck with him for the rest of your life, so suck it up. There's no value in that at all. It defeats the purpose. If you're taking away my free will to make a decision by saying, this is it, that is wrong. I mean, even with an awful medical diagnosis, the people that do the best are the ones who don't give up. I mean, I'm not spouting nonsense here. You hear it all the time. The people who actually strive for something, for the unachievable, sometimes achieve. If you don't strive for anything, you achieve nothing. When I started the sober journey, all I wanted was 3 months. I thought 3 months was going to be this golden ticket. My life would be perfect. In 3 months, my life is still absolute super shit. The depression was terrible. Not having my dog around, I was all alone in my apartment. I just left to go to meetings. But I stuck with it anyway because the idea was, okay, I've suffered this much to get this 3 months over. I'm not giving up now.
Right.
And then 9 months was the next one. I'm still stuck at 9 months. In a couple of days, I'm going to be a year. The 9 month was the biggest one for me for some reason. It was if I can make 9 months, anything is achievable. And I did it. I've got 9 months sober. And I have a year coming up, and it's valuable. It has a lot of value to me, but there's something valuable at 9 months for me.
You know what my mom would say? She's talking about 9 months too. She said 9 months is how you grow a human.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was growing.
And then she'd say, but really, sweetheart, it was 10 because you were a 10-month pregnancy and I stopped telling people because I got tired of telling the same story.
Don't forget the size of the head.
Yeah. And don't talk about how big your head was. And that the doctor said something about having a paper when you came out. But she would always say that that's how long it takes a woman to grow a human.
And it's probably how long it takes for someone trying to be sober to grow an identity again. Because you're infants. Sobriety takes you back to infancy. This is all new. Going to work is new, even if you're good at it. Dating is, well, I haven't figured dating out. If you figure that out, let me know.
Well, if you figured it out, let me know.
Yeah. Everything is new after sober. But you know what? That's not necessarily a bad thing. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think maybe we all need actually kick in the ass and a renewal every once in a while. Maybe if I did a renewal 20 years ago, I wouldn't have got where I was.
What was the cost of not using your voice and not speaking up?
That's a good one. I think because I do talk. I walked out of my building. I don't know how many times someone in the building I really like. I walked out, and my dog had just died. I was an absolute mess, and she goes, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Belle died. I'm so high I can barely function, but I can't be in that apartment one more minute." And she went upstairs. Her boyfriend stayed with me, and he said, "Come on, we'll go for a walk." I'm like, I don't know who you are. He said, "Doesn't matter, we're going for a walk." So we walked. And we ended up over on Ossington. Well, yeah, it's a long walk.
That is far.
Yeah. Mass does wonderful things. You can walk a lot on Mass.
Mm-hmm. And vacuum.
Yeah. And vacuum too. And we walked back and I said, thank you. And he said, I'm going to talk to you tomorrow when you're feeling better. I said, okay. I'm thinking, oh, here it comes. So a couple of days later, I saw him again. And he went, because of you, he said, I checked myself into CAMH. I'm like, why? He said, my coke was becoming a problem. And he said, you're the first man who walked out and blatantly said, I'm a wreck, I'm scared, and life is falling apart. And he said, you don't look the part. And I went upstairs, talked to my wife about it, and I'm getting the help I need now. And I was like, wow, I did something good. I don't know how I did it, but I did something good. And I think from that point on is if we lie, we die. If I had not told someone, if I had not joined the book club, if I didn't have someone like Bradley to say, I've had a really fucking bad day. It's hard to tell people that you're depressed. It's hard to tell people that you don't know how tomorrow's going to be better than today. Even if your part of your brain is going, well, you know it's going to be. Well, right now, at this fucking second, I don't know that for sure. But by telling someone, it's like, oh, that's smart of you. You haven't done that before. And I also knew you understood what it's like to feel that way. Like, a year's been wonderful. I'm actually a bit stressed about it.
Oh, yeah. That's where I was going next. Look at you segueing yourself.
I like to talk too much here.
No, not at all.
I think the last year was rough for me. I mean, the loss was high, and I hope that it doesn't happen to anyone else. I know it does, but I hope it doesn't. But I've seen some amazing stories of successes. I've seen people who keep relapsing, but what's more important, they keep getting up and trying again. The worst thing I've ever heard, it wasn't even that serious. It was someone who uses, and they gave me some really good advice many, many years ago. And I never forgot it. And there was a dealer. And I said to him one day, I said, have you ever used anything? He goes, oh, no. He said, I love using it. I'm never quitting. And even as a user, that was the saddest thing I'd ever heard. It was without any possibility of quitting. And there's no way the drugs is going to sustain a healthy lifestyle. It isn't going to. It's eventually going to bottom out. It may bottom out differently for you. For me, it was going to end up on the street or dead. I was too old to do what I was doing. And despite the fact I think I'm 48, I'm not. And I think there was a point in time that I didn't want to get better. I just wanted it to end. I mean, it was just the idea of getting sober meant I had to face reality. I had to do it without the things I cared most about in my life were gone. I'm extraordinarily lucky. I have friends who have stood beside me. I have clients who've stood beside me. I've met new people in many groups I go to that will stand beside me. And the nice thing too, but so was I learned something new every single day. All those things, a friend of mine said, well, you said last year this. What I said last week, fuck off. It's probably changed because I'm actually growing. I'm actually learning new things.
And we're allowed to change.
We're allowed to change. And I think we have to embrace it.
And we're allowed to leave anything that we don't want to, like, that we're allowed to go. We're allowed to leave. You're allowed to leave this situation. You're allowed to leave whatever isn't serving you in a way that's serving you in a good way. You're allowed to go, I don't like thinking that anymore. Thank you. You're a pretty special guy.
I would say the same about you. Bradley's brought HIV positive men of all different ages. He brought us all together. He gave us a home. We do things together. We talk about addiction honestly and openly. We talk about sex honestly and openly. We talk about having too much, having not enough.
Addiction and dick.
Addiction and dick, or addiction of dick. Addiction with dick. We are gay after all. It's very, very important that all these agencies in our community needed Bradley. HQ, which I mentioned several times, there's a young lady who works there, along with the amazing physicians and coworkers and peers. She would put a smile on Stalin's face, I swear. She's light, she's kindness. And when I was heavily using and failing my duties as a good member of a group, she was always supportive. And when I started getting sober and I was passing all the P tests, she was congratulating me. And she's like me. She is an aficionado of Cadbury mini eggs. Any detractors don't care. Fuck off. You're wrong.
I didn't know you like the mini eggs.
Mini eggs are like something from God. They really are. Yeah. My higher power created mini eggs. I don't work for Cadbury either. And it's amazing that when she started saying, you've done it again, you've got 4 weeks in a row, passing a P test. When most people would be embarrassed, I'm like, yes. And she smiled. And when I said a few times how hard it was, she goes, yeah, it's going to be hard. There's going to be hard days. And I was like, thank you for not patting me on the shoulder and going, oh, you'll be okay. Fuck off. I was anything but okay. But you find those people, gravitate towards them, hang on to them, cherish them for what they're worth. They make a difference. So I want to thank you, Bradley. I got to do something like this, which I've never done a year ago. You can speak openly. And if one person hears it and one person decides not to use tomorrow, or decides to use more safely tomorrow, I consider the job well done.
It's a wrap. Thanks. That was great. You're great. We know that.
Thank you. That was fun.
Attention all passengers, Captain Patrice here. Please prepare for landing. We're making our final descent on our YYZ balanced flight. Thank you for choosing ChemStories Airlines for this journey through lived experience with PNP ChemSex. Next up, our journey continues on the YYZ Insight flight, where Toronto host Bradley introduces experienced flyer Jordan to share his journey. More compelling stories await. Subscribe to stay updated. If you've encountered turbulence while listening to this podcast, please refer to our list of resources and services related to PNP ChemSex in the episode description and on chemstories.ca.